In late 1975, with the cast and key players set, Rocky moved into production. An uphill battle was just beginning. With a budget of $950,000, there was no room for frills.
I always used to feel we got the food and the lunches that were left over from New York. You know, we were kind of dealing with our own clothes and our own costumes.
Those clothes that you see were from my closet, you know, some of them, and I still have them. You know, it was a do-it-yourself film.
It was really like a gypsy company.
We had one motor home that we catered in, the wardrobe, and then the bathroom was at the way back. Nearly my introduction to Stallone was walking into that motor home in the freezing cold. And I said to him, does the bathroom work? And he said, yeah, don't sling any iron in there, you'll be all right.
Because of the lack of money, the team had to move quickly. The entire film had to be shot in less than a month.
When you have a budget of $1 million, you have no time to waste.
I believe there was even one day there, we did 60-some setups in one day, and that was like, it was going like that.
We didn't repeat a lot of takes.
And there was little room for error. But sometimes the limited budget was actually an advantage.
The lack of money caused a lot of good things to happen. We hadn't shot Rocky and Adrian's first date yet, which was about 6 or 7 pages of yakking, and it took place in a cafe. And I had suggested to them that would really be the kiss of death. We decided that we'd take them ice skating. We're going to have a bunch of extras populating the rink. So we can't afford all the extras for the ice skating rink. And I said, what if the place is closed? That's why there are no people there. And they convinced the attendant to let them go.
Well, hey, I want you to do me a favor. You can see she ain't feeling too good, so if you could let her on the ice, I'd appreciate it, only for a few minutes.
10 minutes, $10.
I think the scene is much more romantic and unique and has a lot more charm than if there were a bunch of people bumping into each other in the background.
Two lost souls, alone in an empty rink, barely holding each other up. It would become the perfect metaphor for their relationship.
You like the way I skate?
Despite the small budget, this kind of authenticity was crucial to Stallone and Avildsen, which is why they wanted to shoot on location.
It needed a town that was also an underdog town.
Philly was real. It was all still real and unseen.
Imagine Rocky not being filmed in Philadelphia. It would have been a total schlucko movie.
First of all, we needed to cut corners on the film, and we thought it might be easier to do if we're out of the jurisdiction of various organizations.
The idea was to film in Philadelphia as long as we could until the unions found out about it.
We were a very, very small group in Philadelphia, and I don't know if we ever would have been caught. Lloyd Kaufman, who was the production manager on the job, made all sorts of stuff happen, and it went very well.
I had to do everything kind of quietly, because what if the Teamsters found out? So I was like, no, I don't want to, I don't know nothing. Don't break my legs.
Production began in November of 1975.
It was the first day shooting a Rocky in Philly. They were looking at a camera shot, and he got down on the ground. And he was looking up.
He took a star. Now he has to do it.
He goes, this is it. If I don't do it, it'll never happen again.
Stallone didn't quite realize what he was letting himself in for. Almost immediately, on location, a small training montage took on a life of its own.
There was just a few things in there, punching the bag and hitting the heavy bag and jumping rope. I went, that's it? Like, oops. I said, wow, why don't we use Philadelphia?
The little montage became an epic series of shots across the city, one of Rocky's signature moments.
We did scores of them running around chasing Stallone as he worked out in pre-dawn, you know, up Broad Street, across the railroad tracks, past the old ship, the Mosholu.
We ran for miles, everywhere, up and down hills, and none of that is choreographed. We see, hey, that's interesting. You're in the middle of Philadelphia is a sailing ship. Just jump out and run. Okay, fine.
And when you look at that shot of him running alongside the ship, he is fast. I mean, he put on a burst of speed there. We were in a van, looking out the side of a van, and can I say, holy that's what the driver said when he saw this. It was good.
Sylvester was in great shape, and he was very athletic. He, you know, didn't mind running around a lot.
As athletic as Stallone was, what really elevated the training sequence was the iconic music. Music that almost didn't get made. A minuscule budget meant several established composers passed on the project.
They turned it down because it was a $25,000 package deal.
The whole budget was like under $1 million, about $950,000. The music budget was $25,000, all in.
$25,000 for everything. You pay for the musicians, the studio, the tape, the parking lot attendant, everything. And you get to keep whatever's left.
Bad as it was, this was a deal young composer Bill Conti couldn't pass up. He worked fast with some real creativity when it came to making ends meet.
The way you make it worthwhile is that when the director says, well, are we going to see the movie? I says, I'm so sorry. I couldn't afford a projector and a projectionist. So no, we're not going to see the movie. And then to the musicians, when we said, all right, we're going to rehearse this. All right, you ready? Take one. Can we hear it back? No, it was very good. Let's move on. So in 3 hours, we did all of Rocky.
With so much on the line, it was a valuable 3 hours.
I'm supposed to make you think, even though I know the end of the movie, that he has a shot. Everyone in the audience has got to think, this guy might have a shot at it. So it's the emotion, and if I get it, you get it emotionally. If I fail, then you don't.
I think the combination of the training footage with Bill Conti's score cannot be overestimated in terms of connecting the audience with this underdog story and really giving a huge cinematic quality.
So I did about a minute. I had dun-da-da-da and a da-da-da in a faster kind of way.
I said, you got to make it a little bit longer.
He says, man, I need another 30 seconds. I shot about 5 miles of Sly doing one-arm push-ups and medicine balls. Could I have another 30 seconds?
So it kept growing and growing.
By the end, of course, it ended up being what it is.
It sounded great. I said, you know, you ought to put some lyrics to this thing. This sounds like a song.
We had lyricists on the project, and John says, well, can't we say something? I says, well, we've hired 2 lyricists. You can say anything you want.
So he thought, oh, okay, and that's how Gonna Fly Now came to be.
One final piece was needed to lift the training sequence off the ground, a cutting-edge new piece of technology invented by cameraman Garrett Brown.
When we shot that in Philly, all the running around, there wasn't a name for it. It was quite a contraption with a little tiny green screen, all sorts of wires and things hanging off it.
It looked like a monster, a beast. It had all these washers and nuts and bolts and ropes hanging from it to create the balance. It looked like a crowbar with a camera. It was savage looking, heavy, loud, but mobile.
It became known as the steadycam, and it revolutionized the way moving camera shots were made.
I had a magic carpet for the camera, you might say. I mean, I had a one-of-a-kind machine that would let you run and climb stairs and so on, and do all the things you could never do handheld, and it looked like a dolly shot.
Prior to Brown's creation, getting smooth camera moves over distance required lots of time and money, exactly what Rocky didn't have.
In a world ruled by dollies, you laid rails outdoors. You either were on a crane and armed out, or you saw the rails. I think people in the business were more startled by it than the average audience, but I think the audience got into it for what it was, which was kinetically joyous.
The Steadicam not only enabled the crew to move quickly, it gave Rocky a unique look.
First of all, technologically, what you could do with that relative to a large camera that you've got to put on a dolly or handheld, it's, you know, going to be sort of shaky shots. So it was just a phenomenal tool.
I did the meat locker sequence, which is still one of my favorites, you know. All, you know, technically impossible stuff. No dolly could possibly have woven through those big sides of beef.
Everywhere I would go, we'd jump out of the car. Garrett would come out, and he was 6'6", and he was at one with this camera.
Think of the shot in the Italian market where he's running up the street. I was sitting in a pickup truck taking out the bumps from that vile road with this thing.
And that was the first usage of Steadicam, or early usage of Steadicam. John Avildsen always wanted to be on the cutting edge of technology.
On the emotional level, I do think that the nature of those shots contributed to people's feelings about the movie. Rocky was a startlingly good idea and startlingly new. And Rocky would have been a great film with or without the Steadicam, but I think that I helped it a lot.
Without the Steadicam, one key image would have never been the same.
So Garrett, and this is where magic happens, only he, because of his great size and strength and knowledge, can fly up those steps as fast as I am. I mean, he's running sideways without looking at his feet. He's looking to a monitor. He went up to the top, and then we started going around, and I was just dancing. We didn't plan on it. And he's circling and circling and circling, and his coverage is extraordinary. And then that became the shot of the movie, period, of my life. That's the image I'll always be remembered for. And we grabbed it. There was nothing planned. It was meant to be.
With just a week in Philly and another 3 weeks in LA, the production needed every second the Steadicam gave them.
That's the thing about the first Rocky. It was just a spirit of cooperation. Everyone was helping out in whatever way they could.
But as the time pressures began to mount, tensions did too.
I said, I'd like to have Carl Weathers come out of the corner and throw 4 right hands right away. And the man became outraged. The stunt coordinator, he goes, won't happen. I go, why? He goes, I refuse. And he quits. He quits. I went, oh.